on the sports side and entertainment side that we represent, Katy Perry. And my team thinks about what's next for those brands and those people. And the people that I oversee are creative technologists, UX, user experience designers, user interface designers, growth hackers, thinking about what's next in terms of NFTs or crypto, machine learning, and then, software engineers. We actually build websites and apps for our clients. So the main buckets that we work in are around experience design. What does that experience look like if it's online or in person at a stadium? Development. Are we building apps or AR experiences, augmented reality experiences? Thinking around creative technology. How do we humanize technology so that it's not just the tech, but how do we make it connect with people? And then a lot of compliance work. Right now, I've been doing a ton of work around accessibility, allowing people who may be blind and how they go on websites and experience what others experience on the web. How do we think about those particular people in our process? We are global. Our team works across the globe. So whether it's FIFA World Cup in Russia or now in Qatar coming soon, or there's an event in Alaska that we need to do for BMW, a driving event. So there are many things that our team does. My team works around the clock. And these are some of the products that we built. I won't go into detail with all of them, but you could see a lot of the work that we do around augmented reality, photo booths, data capture, hospitality events, trivia, broadcasting. These are some of the products that we built around some of the activations we've done for our clients. So I'm always thinking about how we could productize our work. So I'm going to give you a snapshot into my brain a bit. And when a client comes to us like BMW or MasterCard and says, hey, we want to do something at the Grammys, what can we do in terms of emerging technology? I'm going to give you a little snapshot into how I kind of brainstorm and what are some of the emerging trends that I think about as we go forward. So, and I won't go into detail each of these, just really high level. When we think about extended reality, how does something like VR or AR come into our lives, and how can we use that on site at the Super Bowl or at Yankee Stadium? So I think those are some of the things that we're thinking about in extended reality, and how can they be cinematic instead of just looking at static content and spinning around in 360. Is there something, cinematic experience that consumer could feel? Artificial intelligence, this we believe is the third era of computing right now. Look at this athlete photo. Computers right now could read their body movement, not only how well their left leg is doing versus their right leg, but how well that, their strength is at any given moment. And athletes on site on these fields will become computer games soon, where a lot of our, the training facilities will know how well they're doing and be able to pull them based off of that. And some people think that's a good thing. Other people think it's a bad thing, but it's here, and artificial intelligence is making that happen. And we're going to see it at the 2021 Olympics with Cisco, where they're going to be able to, through camera systems, be able to monitor the athletes' heat, their movement, and everything else about them. And you'll start to see some of that data on the television as well. A lot of that stuff can't happen without 5G. So yes, 5G is an emerging trend, and it's very real. There are many different stadiums within the United States that have 5G. So when you talk about sports betting and 5G go together very closely, because you can't make a bet on LeBron making the next free throw unless you have 5G in stadiums. So I think this is something that informs strategy for us at Octagon, and something that you should keep aware of. The next thing here is recognition. As we begin to see consumers go back into the stadium and at concerts, they're going to become the controllers. So no longer will they touch things on site anymore. So televisions, hardware, iPads, things like that. You'll see them turn into controllers. So they'll use their hands, they'll use their bodies, their different part, their heads, their eyes, for interacting with screens on site and unlocking new things. So if you wanted to get, a upgrade to a new seat, maybe if you smile, you'll be able to get into a chance to do that at Yankee Stadium. Machine learning is another one, is computers learning for themselves to do things. So I think, as you can see here, the athlete hitting the soccer ball up in the air, we use this for taking photos at different angles. So at one point of the photo shoot, the cameras are taking a picture of him kicking the ball up in the air, but it knows then, you know what, the next shot, we're not going to do it with him kicking it up in the air. We're going to take a shot where he's kicking it on the floor. And the computer, the machine is learning that. It's not somebody that's behind the scenes doing it, which is really a very important trend that's happening. Data compliance, this one's very important. It's one of the most important things that I do. And we can't do anything on site or online for our clients unless we're thinking about what it means in terms of safety and security for consumers like yourself. So, making sure that we're collecting data in a very compliant way, and that everything is being safely stored on servers. So this is an important piece of the puzzle. And then Internet of Things. Majority of the products in my home are connected. I have over like 56 devices in my home. My kids don't even know how to turn on a lamp. They do it through Google, which is crazy. But this is important for marketers like yourself, because you need to think about all the devices that are going to increase in consumers' homes and how can you tap into them as you get into your next career, and maybe thinking the marketing opportunities with the Internet of Things at home, all the devices that are connected. And that directly connects to voice. As we could see here, you say to yourself, hey, robot, turn on my lights, and they do it. There are other things you could do with voice that are really interesting that I think we're all starting to use voice a whole lot more. And I think getting into voice marketing is really important. So that's another trend that I keep on top. And then advanced robotics. Take a look at this hospitality robot flipping eggs at a hotel in Tokyo. I think, this is interesting because that robot's going to make the perfect egg every single time. Now, does that mean, we're going to use this at every single activation we do? No, but for some activations we do for our clients, it might be interesting. Maybe if you come to a BMW event and you want to check in, maybe that robot right there might check you in and print you out your credential, and you could move on to test an M3. So I think we need to think about where robotics makes sense, where it's not scary, and that it helps the consumer process on site or online. And that, the last one here is biometrics. I think this is something that we're going to see in the next couple of years, where your face, your eyes, your nose, your ears, the patterns of how you move your face are going to unlock different things for you, whether it's an ATM or whether it's, an experience. It might be your ticket to get into a dining event at MasterCard, or it might be your ticket to get into an experience. Your face is going to be, and, the rest of your gestures in your how you move around are going to be important around biometrics in the future. So with all those emerging trends, you ask, well, how do you actually make those things come to life at Octagon? And if you take a look at this is one of our activations we did for Kaiser Permanente at the NBA All-Star game. We used people as controllers. So we 3D scanned Steph Curry. We put him into this video game that we built. And essentially we allowed consumers to be Steph and shoot 3-pointers, and they were against the clock. It was really well done. You could see here that there were no wires. You just walked up, you could be 3 feet tall, you could be in a wheelchair, you could be 6 feet tall, and you were able to activate and play the game. Another example here, this is a experience my team built for MasterCard, and it was around teaching consumers how to tap their card instead of insert card when they go grocery shopping. So you can see this beautiful wall we built, and we gave people fake credit cards, And when they went up to the wall, they were able to tap on the wall, and it activated this experience for them to order champagne, cotton candy, food, and it taught them how to interact with screens, and then how the contactless feature now works with MasterCard. So you could see the technology was built into the experience. It wasn't overwhelming. So people were hanging out in this space and they were able to still learn. So that's an example of something we've done. This is Tom Watson taking a virtual putt in one of our experiences we built for MasterCard. And this was his first time sinking a virtual hole-in-one, which was awesome. And he came back 3 or 4 times trying to figure out how to virtually putt. And we built this beautiful experience for MasterCard that when you did these little micro putts, the Sonic brand for MasterCard played. And they want people to know, just like the Netflix sound or just like the McDonald's brand sound, they wanted consumers to start to get to know their Sonic brand. And from there, we built that into the game, and that was a way to educate consumers. This was an interesting one we built for Allstate. We built a motorcycle. We ripped off the handlebars. We added this really, these beautiful interactive fans that made you feel like you were riding down this experience. We put it on hydraulics so that you could lean from right to left. And we gave consumers the ability to learn about Allstate and all of their offerings for motorcycles through a game. So we gamified the experience. So that as they went from right to left, they collected coins and they learned how, instead of just being handed a pamphlet at a motorcycle event, we threw them on a bike and we let them learn through feeling instead of, reading. And then let me skip through some of these. This was an interesting one. So this was an idea of growth hacking, where Delta wanted to be seen at the tailgating events. So we're like, what's better than a gigantic luggage at the tailgating event? So we built this 3D inflatable experience where you walked into it, and when you walked in, everything was projection mapped. Because it was so bright at these events, we were able to do projection mapping, which allows us to project anything we want onto the wall. And in this case, it was a map of the United States, and we gave consumers the ability to kick a soccer ball into one of the locations around the world. And if they kicked in that direction, they won a trip there. So this was a really interesting one for us that allowed us to, there were a lot of things that we learned from this project, like being in an inflatable all day. We needed to add more fans, and we needed to hand out water and all the other stuff that comes with experiences like this. But you get a sense of like what we've done. So that was a very, quick snapshot of what, I do for day to day. And I would love to answer any questions of what you have kind of based off of my experience, or how I can help you in your next journey.
Sebastian, why don't you tell us, and I'll let them ask their own questions, but your department, how many people are in your department, and what is your department called specifically?
So my department is called Innovation. We sit within a larger strategy team of around 50 people within the organization. And my team is around 10 folks that build and design and develop. But we sit within the larger strategy team. That's where we've been going. But the interesting part about my team is they've actually moved us, and it's part of one of my strategies at the company. They moved us from group to group. So one year we were under creative. One year we were under strategy. One year we were, so the reason for that is because the more they integrate innovation within those practices, the more innovation comes out of that. New services, new offerings. So I think it's important for us to move around so we're not just stuck under one team.
Yeah, that makes sense. And just for the edification of the group, just a little more background on Octagon itself. I mean, this is obviously, it's a global company. You're in Stanford, obviously, in a really nice space. Moved from Norwalk, and how many people are in the Stanford location offhand?
Yeah. So we have 2 floors in our Stanford location with around 150 to 200 people at any given time. And our agency is 800 plus around the globe. There are offices throughout the United States in Atlanta and Charlotte and LA and other offices. And we also have global offices in the UK and Spain and Germany. And we're all connected, as you could imagine, because of all the stuff that happened and we went all virtual. We're actually more connected now than ever.
Yeah.
But Octagon is a sports and entertainment agency. We handle, like I said, athletes. We have hundreds of athletes that we represent. And then we also represent entertainment side of the business.
Right. And last one for me, and I'll open it up, and hopefully we have some questions here. You obviously, you hire quite a few people over the years. When you hire, what do you look for? And B, what kind of opportunities do you see like now? Maybe not for this group or for this group or for others.
Yeah, I would say so. What I look for in people when I hire them is one, that they're listening when we're talking, and that they're problem solvers. I think on a regular basis, I'm looking for Swiss Army knives. I'm not looking for someone who's an expert in one thing. I'm really looking for someone who could do multiple things. So Swiss Army knife, meaning you could do a PowerPoint, or you could do marketing, or you might be able to dabble a little in this or a little in that. Someone who's willing to roll up their sleeves and learn something new every day. Because then from there, you could really be organic within an organization and move like a chameleon with wherever you want, because you're going to be thrown into many different opportunities. So you need to be able to say, instead of saying, I don't know digital, I'll get somebody else in the room. Maybe if you know a little bit, you could at least have a conversation with a client. So I think that's important there. And then the second part of it, the opportunities that I see right now that are happening are around creative, a lot of creative opportunities and strategy. So data science, copywriters, creative technologists, someone who's into analytics. Those sort of roles right now are very popular. And then that's on one side of the business. The other side is around like, are you ready to go on tour? Are you ready to roll your sleeves up, be on the road for 8 weeks and work on a BMW driving event program that goes across the country, and setting up tents and setting up cones and learning marketing 101 on site? That's another area.
Excellent. Okay, I'll open it up. Questions for Sebastian?
Hi, Sebastian. Thank you for joining us today. How do you continue to come up with new ideas? And when you do come up with an idea like Delta, how do you build upon it and say, oh, let's also add an incentive to it? How do you find your idea and then keep adding on to it, just make this overall larger experience?
That's a great question, Nicole. I'm actually asked that a lot. And it's very difficult because all of our clients, whether it's Budweiser or MasterCard or BMW, they all want the next greatest idea. So what I'm constantly having to do is really stay on top of what's trending culturally, and also stay on top of, what could work, because there are things that are culturally, like right now, NFTs, that might not work for every one of our clients. Having an NFT card for Topps playing cards, which is our client, might make more sense than having, BMW do something right now, unless there's a real purpose. BMW wants to do an NFT with, a charitable organization to donate money for, feeding America. Maybe that might make sense, right? Because there's a charity component to it. So I'm always constantly every day I watch what's happening in culture. I watch what's happening online. And then I try to bring in art when I can. And then also, things that inspire me in terms of tech, and bring them all together and make something out of it. Thanks for the question.
Hi, Sebastian. My name is Matt. So I have a question for you. So with all the tech that's basically going on in the industry right now, it's kind of so much overwhelming things you need to learn and skills and et cetera. What is one or what would you say are the top skills that you think that a student should be learning right now?
That's my second best question to ask, because I think so many times, and this is why, Matt, I try to swim upstream to the high schools and junior high schools, because if they don't learn now what the skills that they need to be, projecting and learning now, by the time they get to college or even right after college, they don't have what we're looking for. They have to kind of restart. So I think it's really important question that you asked. I think some of the things are, presenting. I think it's real. Every single day I'm presenting, whether it's, in this particular case to a group of really talented college students or to a client, pitching an idea to a client. So you have to have some really good presentation skills. So whenever you can, try to take classes, try to present you're in your communities. I think the second thing is having an eye to what's happening in the world. And it might not be in sports. What's happening in the world is, around payments, right? Because like payments is directly tied to sports. The idea of payments and contactless is if not already slowly integrating with all of the stadiums in the United States. So if you understand what the future of payments is, or the future of, ordering, you could have a really great conversation with a client. So be very topical and understand what's trending outside of your day to day. And then I would say the last thing would be, try to become passionate, at least with one thing. And I know this goes against what I said before. Try to be passionate and own at least one area that you could become an expert within the company. So yes, it's very important to be a Swiss Army knife, but it's also important to have that one thing that my president knows to come to me for, and only me, because then you become an expert. So if it's going to be safety protocols on site around COVID, do it. Or if it's going to be around NFTs, do it. And become an expert so that people then come to you often and you become then that in-house expert in that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
You got it.
Sebastian, are you doing anything in the area of name, image, likeness in terms of the college athletes? Is that something you pay attention? I mean, pay attention to everything, but obviously I'm just kind of.
Yeah. There's a whole division at our org. It's actually it's a subdivision of Octagon called Futures. So if anyone's interested in that sort of, naming rights and athlete rights and logo placements on commercials and within game and that sort of space, the name of the company is called Futures, and they're really forward thinkers there. But yes, there's a lot being done in that space at Octagon.
Yeah.
Annette, did you have something? I saw you unmuted.
Feel free to jump in, guys, with your questions, please.
Hi, I was just I was just wondering how you chose Octagon to work at.
Yeah, that's a good one. Actually, Octagon found me. I was working at a small development shop in Rye, New York, right by Manhattanville. And I was working my butt off every day, and someone had, one of my boss at the time had one of his friends that came in from time to time to have lunch, and just saw that I was kind of running the guy's shop. Got my head down there, was in early, left, when work was done. But really just was nice to people, always looked them in the eye, always was just a nice person. And he said, hey, there's an opportunity for someone to come over to Octagon to oversee digital. Would you like to take the job? And I submit my application, and they came at me and offered me it. So that was how it landed.
How long have you been there?
It's going to be 11 years.
Oh,
which is really unheard of, especially someone in my space. A lot of my friends from school tend to move every 2 to 3 years. So Octagon is definitely a special place. It feels like a family-oriented space. Plus, when you're in sports and entertainment, like you don't want to leave that space. It's really fun and exciting, especially for someone who's a geek like me. I'm not entirely into sports, but I love the passion that fans have. So whether it's whether it's an esports event for the eNix or drone racing, I could attach my affinity to technology in the future of sports, and still be part of the sports industry.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the esports thing, because we've talked about that in the past, and we've seen actually the esports, I think, has basically saved the ECAC in terms of conference. And one of our students, one of our graduates, is running that esports program. I mean, that's not going to go away, right? I mean, this is something that's, going to trend higher and higher, right?
Absolutely. Our clients are just starting to get into it. We League of Legends for us, we just got our clients into from MasterCard a year and a half ago, 2 years, and there are many more coming. So yes, esports is definitely, and you can see with the pandemic, NASCAR jumped on, was able to do simulated driving events, not video games. These were like real simulated driving, where the drivers actually felt what it was like. Like they didn't see a difference between the real car and the simulations, which was awesome. So yeah, I think you're going to see more of that.
That's tremendous. Anybody for Sebastian? Questions?
Hey, Sebastian. I was just wondering, like, what your main background was in. Like, when you left Manhattanville, like, you're on the creative side, you're in digital right now, but did you come out as like a computer science major, or like a marketing or business side? Because I guess like it seems like it's pretty broad, because you guys do like marketing, but you're also doing a lot of technological stuff, and like those are obviously like two very different skill sets, I feel like, at times, or even though they merge.
Yeah. I went to school. So I went to Manhattanville for management and computer science. So there's definitely, and a lot of my classes were marketing, like a ton of marketing classes. But I definitely left Octagon with, computer science and management background. And, but that, at the end of the day, in my opinion, like if you're creative and you could, do marketing of the future, you could apply anywhere. I truly believe that.
What about some non-college areas of learning? Because I think I'm like you in terms of we're always learning, we're always growing, until the day we die, or at least we should be. What is there anything out there? And we've looked at a lot of content online, at the beginning of the course, a lot of, things that are out there in the tech, specifically in the tech area. But, is there something that you go to, what's your go-to every day for, like, is it the Sports Business Journal or the Daily, whatever it is, or is there some tech conferences and things like that?
Yeah, I go on, there's a number of I have like this rhythm that I go in the morning. I usually look at what's happening in the design world. So I'll go to a site called Dribble and see what a lot of the designers are kind of concepting. So I go there first. I'll go to Event Marketer. Event Marketer is a great site that shows you what brands are doing from an event perspective on site at events or online. I go to, a lot of, sports sites, ESPN, to see what's happening in the world of sports, but also Sports Business Journal to see what's trending there. I usually follow them more on Twitter to get my, information throughout the day. And then, there are a lot of white papers that I read. PSFK is a good white paper that I read often. I'll look at a lot of patent drops, believe it or not. What brands like Facebook, Twitter, Microsoft, what are they patenting now today? Because in the next 5 years, they're going to come out with those products. So I'll watch some of the patents, which is pretty creepy, but some people think it's weird, but I think it's actually forward thinking, where you can see what's going on with those companies, what they're thinking about for the future.
Oh, it's terrific. And some of these are new to me, so I'm excited to check them out. Thank you for sharing that. Any other questions here for Sebastian? Very shy group, Sebastian.
Well, I'm more than happy to answer anything here, but I would also say that, please connect with me, and Dave will tell you this, Professor will tell you this, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of stuff for Octagon. There are people, I would advise you, there are clients that watch a lot of my stuff that I post. So interact with it because clients are looking, they know, and some of our clients have hired some of the people. They know I do a ton of mentoring. They know there are a lot of great talent that follow me. So interact with my stuff and know that there are big brands that might be watching. And then also like, let me know how I could help. Follow me on Twitter, see what I'm liking or commenting on, or I'm available anytime you need me to kind of help out with your careers.
You are more than kind. I'll give it one. Anybody last thoughts, second thoughts here for Sebastian? Anything pop in your heads?
I have a question, Sebastian. You talked about like augmented reality and that kind of things and how 5G is going to be in stadiums. How do you think that's going to affect fan bases going forward? Or if you had any projects that you'd have to work with some teams with them knowing that part of their fan base is not going to want to go back to the stadium? Because I know it's something that we talked a lot about in class.
Yeah, the fan experience on site can't just be watching a baseball game anymore, right? Let's just take baseball, for example. You can't just go to Yankee Stadium and expect someone to sit in their seat for all those innings and just watch baseball. There are some people that will do that, but you have to have additional experiences at the stadium. So the idea of 5G, what does 5G bring to the stadium? Well, you're going to have additional content. I've been at some of the stadiums in the United States to see the technology that's coming. Smart screens. So in some of the suites, in some of the grandstands, there's thin layer of glass that you could see through. But on top of that, you're seeing player data that's rolling in. So if you're watching athletes in the outfield or hitting, you could see what that next batter is, all the data about them, and be able to be given the opportunity while betting becomes a real thing in the United States, be able to place a quick bet because you're seeing all their quick data. So that's one area that stadiums are going to try to get people to, be involved and give them. And then we're also thinking about additional experiences at the stadium. So are there music festivals that we could tie in with events? Are there workshops? Can we do workshops where you're learning about how to build something at an event, maybe during, during an exchange, an inning exchange? We've done stuff at Madison Square Garden where during intermission, we're doing trivia, and you can win real-time merch at the end of the game that's signed by the MVP of the game real time. So we're doing those sort of content plays and giving people something extra to kind of enjoy while they're there. That's a good one. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like that. Good answer and good questions. Anybody else? Okay, well, like he said, I obviously connect to him. He Sebastian, a lot of great information. I want you to know this is our last class, and as they always say, you save the best for last. You are the man, and I appreciate it. And we just love what you're doing, and vice versa for you. If you need anything from us, please never hesitate to reach out.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate it. And, I've helped place over 25 kids during COVID into new roles. And it's not only within Octagon. I have connections within the industry. So please reach out. Know that you have people who care about you. Your professor cares about you. I'm a brand new connection in your network. Utilize me. And I'm here to support you as you move forward into your career. So thank you for your time.
You're a good man. You're a good man. Take care of those kids. Take care of that family. And let's grab lunch sometime soon.
All right. That sounds good.
All right, brother.
All right.
Thank you,
care, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.